I just got to the end of recording this video and I realised that I hadn't put a trigger warning. And in this video I'm going to be talking about abuse, sexual assault, abortion and stuff like that. I don't think there's anything in totally graphic detail, but I will be talking about it, so just to let you know. Today I'm going to be speaking about women's rights, the Roe V Wade situation and similar situations in particular, and I'm going to be showing you some of my TikToks and other people's TikToks and linking them in the description box below, because some of the people over there are actual crackpots. There's people who think they're speaking up for women's rights and they're turning it into a completely different argument altogether. Men who are speaking up about it are just totally ripping the piss out of it, and then women who are talking about it who genuinely, I mean, they need to bring lobotomies back for these bitches. In case you can't already tell, this video is going to be a complete rant. I'm not going to show all these videos in full, but I'll link them in the description box because I want you to go and actually see what they're saying and how they're saying it, because it's the way that they're saying it that makes it 10 times worse. So before I even get into this, if you've ever watched any of my videos, you will know that I don't watch the news, I don't read the newspaper, because it's all lies. And if I've ever made videos about politics or anything that's been on the news, it's because I've been sitting with somebody else while they've been watching it. I don't go out my way to read anything about what's happening. I don't know anything that's happening around the world, and I hardly even know what's happening in my own country. And every now and then I hear about it or I see it on TikTok. So you may be aware that after the Roe V Wade situation happened in America, many states started to ban abortion, and somebody had come up with a plan to post red on social media. Don't use any captions, don't use any sounds, don't post any other videos, don't go to work, don't spend money, to take a stand against this. Now, I don't know who came up with this idea, right? I was just like, right, okay, sounds like a good idea. So it kept coming up on my TikTok. And I kept seeing people saying, oh, this happened in Poland in 2020. We've been posting red and nobody was doing it. And I was like, I didn't even know that that happened in Poland. And then people were saying that it was happening in Northern Ireland and stuff like that. And I was like, again, I didn't know about that, right? So that was fine. I was just scrolling through and then I came across this one video. Now this, I was just like, what the fuck, right? I'm going to show you pictures. I'm going to show you screenshots of the video. But I'm actually going to link it in the description box because I want you to hear this person speaking and the way they're speaking, right? That makes it 10 times worse. But basically, let me just get my notes right because I'm going to tell you what she says at the start. So she started off by saying, I want to remind white people that the BIPOC community have been fighting for their bodily autonomy for fucking decades. Right? Well, first of all, the first mistake that she made was to start off by saying, I want to remind white people in particular, right? Now, she could have made a video and said, this has been happening for decades, this is all these women, this is what's been happening to them. Nothing got done about that. Nothing got done about it, and people are stepping up. People are trying to do something about it now that it's affecting them. She could have done that, but instead she decided to specifically say, this is to remind white people, right? Then when she was telling you about these women of colour, all this terrible things that had happened to them, right? And she was like, where the fuck were you? Where the fuck were you? Where the fuck were you when this happened? Where the fuck were you when that happened? And it's like, what? Excuse me? Right? It was just pure attitude, right? And then she carries on and she's saying, 2 seconds to find out what she said, I wrote it down. So at some point in the video she says, so while you go out in your protests and shouting and screaming about this, just remind yourself who's been fighting all this time. Right? So the point in the video was that she was trying to bring awareness to all these people who have been suffering and nothing's been getting done about it. But the problem was not only that she singled out white people, right? Let's even just take that whole situation out of it. It's the fact that she was like, oh, if you've not been to a protest, where were you? If you've not posted about this on social media or whatever, where were you, right? Now, that's not the exact words that she used, but she did say, where were you? Pure attitude, right? So, in response to that, I posted this TikTok video. I've just had a massive update on the 4th of July boycott, where many women across the world are planning on not spending money, not going to work, not posting on social media, and just posting red in regards to the Roe V Wade situation to say, my body, my choice. Now, this sound down below will take you to a video where the woman lists all these other women who have gone through situations that other women have not came forward and protested or stood up for them. So that means that if you have never went to any sort of protest about abortions for people in the past, or for women for people in the past. Maybe you didn't know about it. Maybe you didn't know that any of these things happened. Maybe protests went forward and you didn't know about them because you don't watch the news or read the newspaper. Or maybe you don't live in that country so you didn't know about it. But it doesn't matter how you didn't know or how you didn't take part. You're not allowed to protest. Just go to work, spend your money as usual. Because nobody in life is allowed to not do something in the past and then change their mind. Nobody's allowed to not fight for something and then fight for something. So that means if you've ever been in a domestic abuse situation and you've been getting beat up for like 10 years, you're not allowed to wake up one day and say, do you know what, I'm going to take a stand and I'm going to kick fuck out that dick. You've just got to do everything the same for the rest of your life. Right, so I was obviously being sarcastic because to me she was coming across as saying, if you've never done anything about this before, if you've never protested before, which I have, right, then you can't do anything about it now. So it's like you're making all these people now who are becoming aware of this situation and they want to do something about it, be it men, women, it doesn't matter what ethnicity, race or anything that they are, right? You're now making them feel like you didn't do it before, so now you can't do it for yourself. So that was why I made that video. And I had been planning on making this video and using her video as an example and literally just having a small clip and talking about it briefly and moving on. But then I had been out and she left a comment on my video that I made. I tagged her and everything, right? But then I was out and she left a comment in that video and said, oh, thanks for unblocking me, or I'm glad you've unblocked me, right? I don't have a screenshot of this because she's deleted it and she's blocked me. But she says, I've made a response video and I've tagged you, right? So I was like, right, cool. So I went on and watched it. And the only reason that I'm going to show you this full video of her, right, is first of all because she's deleted it. And second of all because when I done my video of hers, I showed a small clip. And when she done her video of mine, she showed the full video, right? So I'm going to show you her full video.
If you're using this app or any other form of social media and you are going to mention someone's name, username, or even use their face, the bare minimum would to ensure that you tell the truth alongside that. So before I delve into further, I'm going to show you a video clip in its entirety to ensure that messages don't get lost in the process.
Right, so obviously in this bit she shows my full video that I've just showed you.
Seriously, are you trying to be obtuse? Nowhere in my video did I tell anyone that they should not fight for their rights.
Before I even let this video finish, can you imagine somebody actually speaking to you like that to your face? They'd get to about word 3 and they'd be fucked.
Ever. And I would never tell anyone not to do so. It's clear you just got vexed at the idea that I called out certain people. Now I'm going to call you out because if you think that I would stay silent about this, you're wrong. How dare you try to decenter and suppress marginalised voices even further simply because you missed the point? How dare you attempt to twist my words and weaponise them? And even worse, how dare you use my face to manipulate victims of DA? I actually witnessed DA growing up at the hands of my father, and my mother suffered for over 13 years. And at the same time, my father essayed me from the age of 3 and armed me from the age of 9. So let me make this clear. Not on any planet, nor on any lifetime would I ever invalidate someone based on their ethnicity when they've been through that. My nana always said, if you've got nothing constructive to say, don't say it. Take a note.
I'm just editing this video and I'm actually laughing at her response. She actually said, if you've got nothing constructive to say, don't say it. Did she watch her own video? Did she watch her video where she was like, oh, where the fuck were you? Where the fuck were you when you're out protesting? Just remember who's been fighting this whole time and reprimanding people and trying to make them feel bad. After I explained that I hadn't blocked her, I says, it's fine, I'm going to make a YouTube video and I'll talk about your 2 videos and I'll link them and then I'll send you the link to my YouTube video. And she's like, no link needed, I don't want any more interaction, just in future do better. And I'm like, she wants me to do better? She wants me to do better? I'm not the one singling out any ethnicity, race or anything. I'm all about equality for all, right? It doesn't matter to me what country you're from, what colour your skin is, what sexuality you're, none of that matters, right? And I've briefly been back on her TikTok, even though I'm blocked, right? I've got another account, obviously. I've briefly been on her TikTok, And there's so many things that she says that I agree with, right? Like, she's about equality and stuff like that as well. But the problem is when she's saying that she's not singling people out. Like, at the end of that video, she actually says that she's not singling people out because of their ethnicity, when she clearly says at the start this is to all white people. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. So she then says in her video that she witnessed her mum being abused and she was abused. And she had said in the comments that I'm making people feel bad, like I'm making victims feel bad. And I was like, well, most of the people who watch my videos know my survival story. And the thing is, right, I never think, oh, I'm a victim. Because something happened to me. Somebody tried to kill me, right? They did it once and I left and they didn't get a chance to do it again. I didn't stick around. Now, if some people decide to stick around and watch their children being abused or whatever, that's up to them, that's nothing to do with me. But I was out of there, right, and I came out on top. So I don't think, oh, I'm a victim. Imagine having that attitude with everything in life. Imagine somebody goes to that run for breast cancer, right, and they show up and they say, oh, I'm running for my auntie, she died last year, and they're like, oh, really sorry to hear that. Like, oh, have you done well in previous years? And they're like, oh no, this is my first time running, like, my auntie died earlier in the year, so I'm doing the run this year. Imagine the person turned around and went, oh, you're only here now because it's on your doorstep. Alright, see your sponsor sheet, take it to fuck. Where the fuck were you when my auntie died 3 years ago? Where the fuck were you when my mum died of breast cancer last year? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so ridiculous to even say that. God forbid a man tries to do something for a breast cancer charity because his mum or gran's died or something. It's like, oh, where the fuck were you? Oh, you're a man. Oh, you're a man, you're trying to stick up for women. Where the fuck have you been when it wasn't affecting you? The mentality, it's just, I don't even understand it, right? The problem with this is she's now took an issue about women's rights and she's now turned it into an argument about race as well. Now, it might baffle people's minds, right? But see if something happens to a woman of colour or an Asian woman or a French woman or a fucking German woman, right? I don't think, oh, it doesn't matter because they're German. It doesn't matter because they're not white. It doesn't make a difference to me, right? Everybody's the same. I am not racist in the slightest. But when people say, oh, white people have just got privilege, right? Yes, all white people do have privilege. The fact that I don't have to worry about getting stopped by police or how I speak to certain people or the way I act in certain situations, right? I don't even have to take that into consideration. And that is privilege, and it's privilege because I've never even had to think about it, right? Now, I'm not saying that I don't have that, but I also don't walk around thinking that everybody's different because of the colour of their skin. I've got plenty of friends who are not white. Do you know what I mean? So I've spoke to people who are not white and I've showed them these videos and I've said, this is what I'm going to say in my video. Do you think I'm in the wrong here? Right? Like, this woman, she thinks that she's just so above everybody. This woman's self-importance is through the fucking roof. You know how you get religious people and they'll go to mass on a Sunday and they'll say to somebody, oh, were you not at mass on Sunday? Oh, I was at mass. You must not love God as much as I do. Right, you go into this woman's comments and she's like, oh, I was at this protest, I was at that protest. I live in the UK, there's no excuse to not know. There's no excuse to not know what's happening to these women of colour. So I speak to women of colour, right? And I'm like, did you know about this? No, because you don't watch the news. Did you know about this? No. Are you going to then spend your time to go online and look up all these issues? No, you're not going to, because not everybody does that. When she was talking about witnessing her mum being abused and her being abused, maybe that's one of the reasons why she takes interest in looking all these things up and taking action. I showed people this video and I told them what I was going to say in this video, and they're not all white, and some of them have been victims of family members or people that they don't know. And I was like, do you think that I'm in the wrong? People of colour, Asian people, all different ethnicities and races, and I'm like, am I being a dick here? Am I being out of order? Let me know in the comments what you think. I'm just editing this video and I've lost a clip somehow, but she also done a video response to somebody else who said because somebody hasn't been outspoken in the past, they're not allowed to be outspoken now, or they can't stand up for themselves now. And she was like, where did I say that? Where did I say that? Like, pure attitude, right? Like, when she done the response to me and she was like, nowhere in my video, like, just being a total wee fucking wide cunt. I would love for her to come up and speak to me like that to my face, do you know that? And then at the end of her video when she's like, oh, I was a victim and my mum was a victim, that does not give you the right to speak to people like a fucking idiot.
Did I say that though? Where did I say that? Please.
But you can watch the full thing. You can let me know if you think I'm in the wrong, right? Please feel free to let me know. If we totally take race out of the whole situation, the fact that she was still like, where were you? Where were you? As if like you weren't there then, you can't be there now. Anyway, check out her videos and you can come back, let me know what you think. I'm moving on to somebody else because she's already took up too much of my time. The rest of these people that I'm going to be talking about, I'm just going to be talking about briefly. But there's one guy on TikTok, I don't have the video saved and I can't remember his name, but there's a guy who I used to follow and he often talks about toxic masculinity and women's rights and stuff like that. And I really like him, right? So he had been talking about Roe V Wade in this video and I had liked the video. And then all of a sudden at the end he was like, and as for the men who are standing up now, where the fuck have you been for the past 5 months? Where the fuck have you been? And I was like, do you know what? Block. Have you ever heard the saying you can't do right for doing wrong? I hadn't ever gave it much thought until today. I keep seeing all these videos about the July boycott regarding Roe V Wade. And when you go into the comments, it's Poland have been doing this for years, women in these countries have been dealing with this for decades. Where were you then? Not taking into consideration that not everybody watches the news or reads the newspapers because it's all lies and they don't actually know world events. There's a guy I see on TikTok who talks about women's rights and toxic masculinity, and at the end of his video I seen today, he was saying, for all you men standing up now and saying you're pro-choice, where have you been? Where have you been for months? And I'm like, do you know, reprimanding somebody for something that they've not done in the past is only going to make them not want to do it in the future. Let's keep in mind that in the UK at the moment abortions are legal and they're free. It's possible that most of these men have never even had to deal with somebody getting an abortion that they knew about and therefore they haven't had to give it a second thought. But now that it's coming to their attention and they're standing up and they're deciding to take action, it's like, well, where have you been? Where have you been? And it's like, well, do you know what? I'll just not fucking bother then. I've been out collecting money for charity before and I've seen the same people walk past me day after day, week after week. And then one day they walk in and they decide to give me £1 and I've never turned around and says, oh, where the fuck have you been for the past 6 months? Did you not see me 6 months ago? Did you not see me yesterday? Imagine somebody done that to you, you'd be like, do you know what, give my fucking £1 back and fuck off. Obviously it's important to educate people that this problem didn't start in America and it's not going to end in America. But moaning at people for showing up too late is just going to make them not want to do anything at all and just say, right, fuck off, do it yourself. It seems to me that everybody is getting the blame for what's happening in America, right? Men are getting the blame. It's the government that's to blame. The government. But everybody else is arguing about it. And then other people are bringing sex into it, gender into it, sexuality into it. And they're bringing in all these other arguments that it's got nothing to do with it. And it's driving me absolutely fucking insane. This one's going to be brief and I'm going to show you my TikTok response. Although I agree that men should get to make this decision when they're older, you've only got your parents to blame for that one. Here in the UK, the majority of men know exactly where theirs is. If you think that you can compare getting your foreskin chopped off when you were a baby to being forced to carry a life inside you for up to 9 months is an absolute joke. Imagine that every single time you looked at yourself or felt it moving inside you, you were reminded that you would die during childbirth or end up with health issues for the rest of your life. Imagine being sexually assaulted and then being forced to actually carry that person's baby and give birth to it. And it's not just about growing a life inside you and then squeezing it out. It affects everything. It affects your mental stability, it affects your hormones, it affects your relationships. Not only that, but you've got fluids coming out of every single bit of your body, bits of your body you didn't even know would leak. Here in the UK you get maternity leave, but you don't get that in every country. Not only that, think of the amount of people that walk up to you and go, oh, you're pregnant when you do, as if it's like a happy thing to talk about. Imagine how much that would affect you. You would end up locking yourself in the house and never wanting to go out. In fact, you'd probably end up just unaliving yourself. Imagine being sexually assaulted by a family member and then being forced to carry that child, which has got fuck knows what wrong with it. You give it up for adoption and then when it turns 14, it says, oh, why was I adopted? And it's like, oh, it's no big deal, your granddad abused your mum. If you think that compares to getting your foreskin chopped off when you were a baby, then you're failing to see the bigger picture here. I'm just showing you that one and moving on. You can comment on it and let me know what you think if you want. The guy's obviously just been a complete dick. Here's another TikTok response for some Christian crackpot living in America.
So the dad goes to jail because he doesn't have enough money to pay child support, but the mother can get away with murder.
The youngest girl in the world to ever give birth was only 5 years old. Do you remember the 11-year-old who was locked in the basement by her father and gave birth to 7 of his kids? Now, she couldn't really go out and get a job because, damn it, she was locked in a basement. But let me know in the comments any job recommendations that you've got for kids that this happens to in the future. This next woman is an absolute fucking crackpot, right? She's even worse than the first one. And she's some sort of healer. And she's saying Roe V Wade has been overturned by the Supreme Court, and I'm over here like, so, right? And she's trying to say that if you channel your divine feminine, you can reject the seed and not get pregnant. You can reject the seed, right? And nothing's going to make you pregnant if you don't want to be. And all you have to do is channel your divine feminine. She's a fucking crackpot, right? That's not even the worst of what she's saying. So I did several responses, and I was talking about how there's 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds that have been abused and they've gave birth, and you're trying to say that all they had to do was channel the divine feminine, right? That's not even the worst bit. So she's talking about like karma, right, and past lives and stuff. Now I fully believe in past lives and all that, but she's saying anything that happens to you or me in life is all to do with things that you've done in your past life. So if you're being punished in this life, it's because of something you've done in your last life. Now think about the stories that you've seen on the news, right, of kids that have been abused. I'm talking about literal children, babies, months old, 6 months old, that have been sexually abused, burnt with cigarettes, tied up in bin bags, smashed off every wall in the house, right? And she's saying, oh, that's because of something that you've done in your past life, right? Now, I am not exaggerating when I say this. The worst thing that can possibly happen to a woman in life is what this bitch deserves, right? I do not give one fuck what her beliefs are. To turn around and say, oh, anybody who is molested, raped, beat up, turned into a slave, anything, right, that's all to do with what you did in your past life. Like, she's absolutely cracked. And back in the day, when people, mainly women, right, used to come out with things that were crazy, they used to give them a lobotomy. And see, in this case, that is exactly what she deserves. Honestly, she's absolutely cracked. I'm all for people believing what they want. Like, I believe in the power of the universe and reincarnation and stuff. But when religious people start to push their beliefs onto you, like all these crackpots are doing in America, literally just pushing their religious beliefs onto other people, and then this absolute Fruit Loop who's like, oh, if you're abused or attacked, you deserve it because of something that you've done in your past life. Well, anything that happens to her in this life, she deserves it because she's an absolute fucking crackpot. If you're interested in seeing any of those videos in full, I've linked them in the description box. And I do recommend that you go and watch the first woman's video, because as I mentioned, it wasn't the fact that she was bringing awareness to what's happening to these people. It's the way she's saying it and the way she's trying to reprimand people and make them feel bad because they haven't been to a protest before, or because they don't sit and spend all their time looking up world affairs. Do you know what I mean? Like, not everybody in life sits and looks up crimes that's been happening or things that's been happening all over the world. Not everybody lives the life that she's living, and she's trying to make people feel bad about it. Anyway, let me know in the comments. I'm interested to know what you think. Do you think that I've totally over-exaggerated and I just went off my head for no reason? Or do you think I'm right in what I'm saying? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching. Bye!